Pokemon Nuzlockes have gotten pretty extreme over the years. The difficulty keeps cranking higher and higher as players chase the next big challenge. But at some point, is it even fun anymore? Poring over PDFs, spending hours theory crafting, running calcs, sometimes just for it to all fall apart anyway. But for some people, that's the fun. But for me, a Super Saiyan idiot? A baka and a balaclava? The answer is no. I haven't touched a calculator since 8th grade, and by God, I don't plan to start now. So allow me to introduce my motto, my creed, my guiding doctrine: no calcs, all vibes. That's right, we're diving into Pokemon FireRed powered by nothing but vibes in a dream. Now, you might be thinking, isn't FireRed kinda easy? Well, yeah, but you gotta start somewhere, and it's been years since my last Nuzlocke, so I've got some serious rust to shake off. If you're new to hardcore Nuzlocke rules, here's the quick rundown. You can only catch the first wild Pokemon you encounter in each area. If a Pokemon faints, it's dead. No items in battle except for hold ones. You can't overlevel past the next gym leader's ace, and finally, battles are set to set mode. No free switches. Alright, with that out of the way, let's make Pokemon Nuzlockes fun again. Well, for me at least. We start off by naming our character Baka, of course. That's me. We then name our rival Tensai because my elite Google searching tells me that is Japanese for smart or genius or something like that. After a failed attempt to escape the suburban nightmare of Pallet Town, we're brought back to Professor Oak's research lab where we're gifted our very first Pokemon of the run. I go with Bulbasaur and take a page out of Kira Toriyama's playbook and just name him after a vegetable. Meet Lettuce. I attempt to peacefully part from Professor Oak's prestigious Pokemon parlor, preferring pacifism to petty pugilism, but presumptuous Tensai persists, pressuring him into a Pokemon punch-up post-haste. Unfortunately for our rival, we have vibes on our side. I don't even bother to check Lettuce's nature as we dive into battle and spam tackles until the Charmander is defeated. Good day, sir. I said good day. With Lettuce at our side, we complete our mandatory Professor Oak's perfectly packaged pilgrimage and head back to Pallet Town. Here we receive our Pokedex, which I assure you I will not open once this entire run. With balls now finally in our sweet soft hands, we head to Route 1 to catch our first encounter of the run. It's a Pidgey, and after a single tackle from Lettuce to weaken it, we throw a Pokeball and secure the catch. Meet Onion. We proceed to Route 2 where we find a Rattata as our first encounter. We name her Celery. Next up is Route 22 where we find a Mankey who puts up a good fight, even getting Lettuce down to the yellow before Leech Seed heals him back up. Eventually, we catch the Mankey who we named Pepper due to the red-hot battle he just gave us. In Viridian Forest, our encounter is a Metapod. After a series of Hardens, I assume one more tackle should get it down low enough to secure the capture, but unfortunately Lettuce gets a little overzealous and hits a crit through the defense increases. Oh well, at least we won't have to say bye-bye Butterfree in this run. But now it's time to rumble at a rocky rendezvous with Brock's relentless rock-type ranks. Brock bravely brandishes his rugged, rock-rolling Geodude, ready, willing, and weirdly revved up to wreck poor Lettuce's world with righteous wrath. But after a probably unnecessary Leech Seed followed by Vine Whip, Geodude is sent packing. Next comes Onyx, who falls to a single crack of a Vine Whip. And with that, Lettuce and I have successfully won our first Indigo League badge. Boy, I hope they're all this easy. Boulder badge in hand, we head to Route 3 where we find a Sparrow as our encounter. This would have been a lot easier to catch if I had decided to teach Lettuce Sleep Powder, but for some reason I just didn't. Surely that won't haunt me later, right? We catch the Sparrow and name him Bok Choy. Funny, right? Inside Mount Moon, we have a fateful encounter with a Geodude who will turn out to be one of the greatest members of our team. Welcome, Okra. While traversing through the mysterious Mount Moon and thwarting gang members as a 10-year-old boy does, Lettuce evolves into Ivysaur, raising the strength of our team even further. Sliding out of the stony slopes of Mount Moon, we speedily scour Route 4, seeking some suitably strong subordinate to serve our squad. We find an Ekans, which we name Eggplant. Soon after, Onion evolves into Pidgeotto just in time for our rival battle with Tensai. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't stand a chance against No Calcs, all vibes. He leads his own Pidgeotto, but Okra is ready for a fight. Dusting off a sand attack, he hits hard with a rock throw for the KO. Okra proceeds to absolutely demolish every other Pokemon on Tensai's team. No prisoners were taken, no spoils of victory needed. Only the satisfaction of destruction for Geodude. Okra has made his debut in a major way. We breeze through the Nugget Bridge and onto our next encounter, which is a Weedle that we catch and name Beat. I'm so funny. Next up, we blunder into the bewildering, belligerent buffoon known as Bill, a bona fide biological bomb of a being. He begrudgingly bequeaths the SSN ticket before we bolt, desperately begging for blessed, boiling eye bleach. But now, it's time for our second big battle of the run. Cerulean City's gym leader, Misty. Can Lettuce the Ivysaur run through her team just as he did against Brock? Prior to the battle, we go ahead and involve Celery into Eradicate just in case. And now, it's time. The battle begins and Lettuce goes for his patented Leech Seed opening as Staryu uses Harden. Turn 2 is where things get dicey. Staryu hits a critical hit Water Pulse and also gets the Confusion. And of course, Lettuce hits himself in Confusion. Literally everything went in Misty's favor here. Seeing that the RNG gods are clearly against me, I switch out to our newly evolved Celery. But Staryu proceeds to hit another critical hit Water Pulse. Leech Seed heals us back into the green and just above dying to another crit. I go for a Hyper Fang, which is luckily enough to knock out this troublesome Staryu. But here comes the real baddie, Starmie. Celery won't live a critical hit here, so I switch back in Lettuce, who takes a Water Pulse that luckily doesn't confuse this time. Ivysaur takes another Water Pulse as we set up the Leech Seed for recovery and chip damage. Misty keeps sending Water Pulses our way as Poison Powder, of course, misses. I should have just gone for Vine Whip here, and I paid for it. I'm not one to learn from my lessons though, so I go for Poison Powder again. Starmie shoots off another Water Pulse and gets the confusion, and unsurprisingly, we hit ourselves. This is looking bad, so we switch into Onion the Pidgeotto, who fortunately just gets hit with a Swift instead of a Water Pulse. I assume Starmie saw the kill with 100% accurate Swift and opted for that instead. I go for Sand Attack and take a huge Water Pulse in return. I then risk the crit and go for a Quick Attack, hoping the chip damage from Leech Seed will be enough. But it's not, and Starmie also gets the confusion with Water Pulse. I switch out into Lettuce, anticipating the heal from Misty. If Starmie had gone for the kill instead, this would have been terrible. I go, once again, for the Poison Powder, which we hit in exchange for a soft Water Pulse. Now it's time to switch into Eggplant, who will hopefully be able to hit a super effective bite. But of course, on the switch, Starmie hits a critical hit Swift. How lucky is Misty? Girl, chill! Her luck finally runs out though as she misses a Water Pulse, which allows Eggplant to hit a bite, and chip damage does the rest, baby. I played this absolutely terribly, but fortunately we managed to escape without any deaths. But I'm definitely gonna have to clean it up going forward, which I will probably, maybe not, definitely do. The journey continues, and on Route 5, we run into an Oddish that we quickly catch. Meet Cabbage. You'll never see him again. Next, on Route 6, we find and catch a Meowth. We name him Yam. On Route 11, we encounter a Drowsy. Not my favorite evolution line for certain lore reasons, but a Psychic type is always good to have around. Turnip joins the team. Finally, in Diglett's Cave, we encounter, and good God, you're not gonna guess this, a Diglett. Welcome to the gang, Squash. Now it's time for our next rival battle against Tensai, who is yet to be an issue for the team. Ochre picks things up where he left off, knocking out Pidgeotto with a Rock Throw, and burying the now evolved Charmeleon after a Growl with magnitude 6 and 7. Aw crap, here comes the memes. Unfortunately, Tensai's weak little Abra has evolved into a fearsome yet frail Kadabra, and with the attack drop from Charmeleon's Growl, it lives a Mega Punch. Confusion hits big and fortunately doesn't crit, or that would have been the end for old Ochre. Rock Throw takes out the Kadabra, and next is Raticate. Honestly, Ochre probably could have handled this, but I decided to swap an Eggplant for the Intimidate. Raticate then hits a critical hit Hyper Fang, ignoring the attack drop, and sending Eggplant to the bye-bye box. And with that, we have our first loss of the run. Lettuce comes in to avenge our fallen teammate, tanking a Hyper Fang and setting up the Leech Seed to suck up everything Tensai's Raticate is worth. Tanking another to poison his foe and slowly sap him of his will to fight. Another Hyper Fang means nothing, as Ivysaur launches a Razor Leaf, cutting through his comrade's killer with surgical precision. Finally, the Leech Seed and Poison are too much for the large rat to continue. Dropping just as his previous prey, our Ekans did before him. The battle is won, but not without its toll. Goodbye, you evil boat. With Eggplant the Ekans gone, we add Squash the Diglett to the team for an extra ground type, going against the electric type gym. We probably won't need him, but extra backup is always a plus. After tirelessly trawling through Lieutenant Surge's terribly tainted trash tins, this tenacious trainer takes on the thunderous, tactless trooper himself. Truly, it's time for a turbulent, tight-fit tussle to the top. In unsurprising fashion, Ochre opens the onslaught, unleashing magnitudes mighty enough to make the mountains mourn. Surge scrambles with shaky double-team shenanigans, but they stumble spectacularly. Ochre vaporizes Voltorb, pulverizes Pikachu, and ruins Raichu without receiving as much as a scratch. The third gym badge has been decisively, definitively, and delightfully won. On Route 10, we catch a Voltorb that we name Cress. See you later, pal. After hindering Picnicker Heidi, Ochre evolves into a Graveler. Is the world really ready to be rocked by such a pristine Pokemon? In Rock Tunnel, we catch one of the next great additions to our team, a Machop that we name Artichoke. It's not funny now, but when he evolves, it'll get better. Trust me. And now in Lavender Town, the stage is set for a fateful rematch between Tensai and myself. Two trainers bound to this Pokemon graveyard by the echoes of a battle long past. My Ekans fell that day. His Raticate soon followed in revenge. Now, with the spirits of our fallen friends watching, we wage war once more beneath the shadow of loss. And then Ochre fucks his bitch ass up! And then we catch a Growlithe that we name Carrot. Shortly after, Turnip defeats a Super Nerd's Grimer and evolves into a Hypno. All small children, please back away. While leveling up to the level cap, Artichoke evolves into Machoke, and I guess that wasn't really as funny as I thought it would be. Let's just continue on. Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. And now it's time for the fearsome 4th badge battle against Erika, the graceful grass-type guru. Can our ragtag roster of reckless recruits rise to the challenge and ground the gentle grass-type gangster? We lead Turnip against Erika's Victreebel. We miss our Hypnosis, but their Stun Spore misses as well, so I guess we'll call it a wash. Turn 2, we hit our Nope, never mind, we missed that again. But Victreebel hits their... Oh, no, never mind, they missed that again too, okay. Turn 3, we hit the But they missed the Now with the speed advantage, Erika goes for an acid that we tank, but we miss a 4th hypnosis. Why are we still trying this? God, just go for a confusion! We then tank another acid and go for confusion that hits hard. Wow, who would have guessed that? Erika uses a hyper potion, but confusion brings us back to where we started. Fearing a crit, I switch into Onion the Pidgeotto, who takes a hard hit from acid. But on the next turn, Onion outspeeds and outs the troublesome tree thing. Tangela comes in, so we stick with Onion, whose wing attack knocks into the yellow, while it just goes for an ingrain. Next turn, another wing attack knocks it out. Then comes in Erika's ace, a venomous Vileplume vying for vindication. Onion's sand attack assists in stun spore string. Make that times 2. Oh, and then a 3rd time too. Heard y'all AIs like accuracy strats. How you like it now, huh? Bitch. Feeling confident, we go for a wing attack that knocks Vileplume to below half health. But of course, now I stun spore hits. Vileplume hits another acid that luckily doesn't crit, so Onion finishes this battle with another wing attack. Yeah, Erika, I didn't have to go for all those extra strats. I could just whipped you with attacking moves, and I definitely knew that the whole time. Bam! We walk away with our rainbow badge and head to Route 16 where we catch a Doduo, but we probably should have used this route to attempt to catch Snorlax. Anyways, we name it Peas. While attempting to do some underage gambling in the game corner, we run into a Team Rocket grunt casually massaging a poster of Gardevoir. We can't allow this filth in our gambling casino, so we take him out, only to find a secret staircase leading underground. And that's where we find the meddling mastermind of Team Rocket, Giovanni, skulking in the shadows. We simply cannot stand by while he continues besmirching the good name of gambling, so we step up and challenge the scheming scoundrel to a showdown. And then we win. You're welcome, gambling. With the Silph Scope now in hand, we head back to Lavender Town to catch a Ghastly, which will evolve into one of my favorite Pokemon. We name it Bone Broth, ha ha ha, moving on. We quickly wrap up this Team Rocket business and collect our Pokeflute, and forget any of this ever happened as fast as possible, because I really wanted a Gengar! Oh well, time to attempt the other Snorlax on Route 12. And it won't stay in the ball, so Leech Seed kills it. Let's not talk about this ever again. While preparing for the next level cap, Lettuce evolves into Venusaur and Onion into Pidgeot. Time for the second Snorlax. We run. On Route 15, we catch a Venonat named Purple Cabbage that I decided to replace Carrot with for now, as Growlithe won't be particularly useful against Koga. While working our way up to the level cap of 43, Purple Cab evolves into Venomoth, while Ochre and Artichoke evolve into Golem and Machamp respectively. This is through the power of the Universal Pokemon Randomizer that allows us to disable trade evolutions and have them occur through leveling up instead. Man, I wish I'd caught a Ghastly. With preparations complete, it's time to take on the fearsome Fuchsia Fiend himself, Koga, commander of a pompous parade of putrid poison-type Pokemon. What vile schemes does this toxic trickster have in tow? Our newest member, Purple Cab, takes the stage and I try out something unheard of. We attack with a super effective Psybeam and I'll be damned, it works. Call you later, coughing. Muck comes out next and a critical hit super effective Psybeam does less than I would have liked. Fortunately, Muck just wastes time going for an Acid Armor before being taken out by another Psybeam on the next turn. The second coughing comes in and the second coughing goes down. Koga's ace, Wheezing, comes in and immediately takes a Psybeam for about half. It billows out a smokescreen, but that means nothing to Purple Cab as he shoots off another Psybeam, winning the battle and the gym badge. Man, who knew gym battles could be so easy if you just keep firing off super effective moves instead of going for stupid strategies. With Fly and Surf now in our inventory, I cruise back over to Route 12 to pick up the Super Rod and hit up our next few encounters. Back home in Pallet Town, we fish up a horsey we named Parsnip. In Vermilion City, we reel in a Gyarados that we managed to catch and name Daikon. Finally, on Route 19, we somehow jump on the back of Parsnip the horsey and surf around until we find a tentacle we name Mushroom. Now we'll have to find Parsnip a chiropractor. I decide to keep Parsnip around as a water type is never a bad thing to have on the team, and she evolves into a Seadra. Later, with the help of the Universal Pokemon Randomizer, she evolves into a Kingdra, which I was initially pretty excited to use, but I decided this wasn't a legal Pokemon to have on the team since the National Pokedex isn't available, so it shouldn't be possible. Golem and Machamp can both legally evolve at this point in the game, so they're allowed, but I draw the line here. Now it's off to Saffron City, but first we have to quench this security guard's thirst, take that as you will. Upon arriving, we head to the PC and swap out Parsnip for Mushroom, who before long evolves into a Tentacruel. We also add Crest, the now Electrode, to the team for the upcoming rival's Gyarados. Alright, back to battling. In Silphco, our rival Tensai waits. Let's see if this sorry, pathetic excuse for a trainer can actually be a challenge this— and he killed Chris. Well, in better news, we're immediately given a Lapras that we named Jicama. Yeah. Well, next up, we've got this sorry, pathetic excuse for a trainer, Giovanni, who we destroy. Finally, now we can get back to what everyone's here for, poorly played gym battles. Going into the Sabrina fight, I realized our team is heavily weak to Psychic, so we changed this team up quite a bit. This battle brought to you in part by No Calcs, all vibes. Turn 1, Kadabra tries to throw up a Reflect, but Ochre promptly pulverizes the pathetic Pain, smashing the so-called shield with a mighty Magnitude 7 for an easy KO. Mr. Mime moses out next, but Magnitude musters a measly 5, letting the mischievous Mime manage to materialize a mighty barrier. Here I swap the Daikon the Gyarados on a soft side beam. And Gen 3 bites a special strike, so I bank on it to bypass the boosted barrier bulk, but it barely breaks through, no KO, and Mr. Mime cranks up its capabilities with a crafty Calm Mind. So now I've had enough of this stupid Mime and send it packing with a Hydro Pump. Bye! Venomoth comes in and Reflect wears off, so we switch to Peas the Dodrio, who takes a pretty soft side beam. Peas promptly pounces, pecking at its bulging bug eyes, but the pestilent pet screeches a spiteful supersonic, saddling us with swirling, stupefying confusion. Damn, that was a hard one. Knowing the Hyper Potion is coming, I consider switching, but ultimately decide to defy the confusion and go for another peck. Vibe check not passed. Peas then hits through the confusion with a peck, dealing massive damage, but not enough for the KO. They then take another soft side beam in return. Knowing another heal is coming, I decide to swap back into Ochre. Sabrina misses a stupid supersonic as Magnitude 7 leaves Venomoth with a sliver. With Sabrina's heals now gone, it's time to bring in the master plan. I swap out into Beat the Beedrill, but she unfortunately gets hit with a supersonic. But that means nothing to Beat the Beedrill as she bravely barrels through the confusion to bequeath a brutal beatdown that buries Venomoth. Finally, Sabrina's Alakazam enters the battlefield, and that's why Beat the Beedrill is here. All she has to do is outspeed and hit a Twin Needle to get the oh shit. And that's why Celery the Raticate is here. All she has to do is outspeed and hit the Hyper Fang to Oko, oh shit. But it just goes for a Calm Mind, so we quick attack that thing back to the hell it came from. Look at that face. That's the face of an Alakazam killer, baby. Yeet! Excuse me, but yeah, we won the badge. So at this point in the game, there's a few more encounters we catch, but we don't use any of them, so I'm not going to show them anymore for time's sake. So now it's time for Blaine's Gym, where I correctly answer a bunch of dumbass quizzes that even a 10-year-old could complete. Well, I guess that's kind of the point. Blaine blazes in as our 7th gym leader, a ferocious fire-type fanatic whose blistering flames threaten to finish our run in furious fashion, but not if our wet and wild water types have a word to say about it. We kick off the clash with our Titan of Tentacruel and let loose a surging, sweeping, it's over? I can stop the alliteration thing? Oh, okay, well, I guess we won after Blaine tragically drowned.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me.
And with that, it's time for the 8th and final gym battle against Giovanni, who we've beaten multiple times already, and he uses ground types. So...
Hello, how are you?
Wait, play that back. Ah, crap! Well, that sucks. Mushroom was a real late game MVP, but at least we still have a water type in Lapras, so we add Arcanine to the team. And with all 8 Indigo League badges in hand, we head to the Pokemon League and oh, fuck, it's this guy again. As much as I've made fun of our rival Tensai, 2 of our 4 deaths have come from him and his team, so we're definitely gonna have to take him seriously this time. Pidgeot starts off with a weak resisted wing attack that Ochre shakes off, but Rock Throw misses. We've had really good luck with this move despite its accuracy, so I can't complain. Pidgeot uses Feather Dance to lower Ochre's attack, which is annoying because even though we hit the second Rock Throw, it doesn't even do half. So we switch in Jicama the Lapras, who tanks a wing attack with absolute ease. One wing attack later, we send Pidgeot to the North Pole for the KO. And then Rhyhorn comes in, so we shoo him away with a Surf. And then Execute comes in, so one Ice Beam later, we've already knocked out half a Tensai's team. You're throwing, bro. Alakazam is next, and since we don't have Celery the Raticate with us, we swap to the new Alakazam killer, Carrot the Arcanine, who comes in on a failed Disable. Extreme Speed only does a little more than half as Alakazam goes for a scary Calm Mind, but one more Extreme Speed puts a stop to that. Gyarados comes in next, so we swap into the Gyarados killer, Lettuce the Venusaur, who uses his extreme agility to avoid a Hydro Pump. Get bent, Tensai. Lettuce does what he does best and Leech Seeds Gyarados as he misses another Hydro Pump. Get seated, Tensai! Lettuce has upgraded his Poison Powder to the much more accurate Toxic that still misses, while Gyarados goes for Rain Dance. On the second attempt, Toxic hits as Lettuce is barely inconvenienced by a rain-boosted Hydro Pump. Now we just start swinging with Razor Leafs as Gyarados refuses to deviate from the Hydro Pump and the Rain strategy that is getting him nowhere. Chip Damage having done its job, one last Razor Leaf sends Gyarados packing. And then comes Charizard, but fortunately, the rain is still falling. So we swap in Ochre into a slash, and then the rain stops. Really thought we were cooking something there. Well, anyways, Ochre evolves into Fried Ochre after a weak Flamethrower and takes out Charizard after a 4-time super effective Rock Throw. Tensai takes no ballers this bout. We take a moment to flex our super sick, audaciously awesome, bona fide badass Indigo League badges before heading into the big bout. The Elite Four is calling and we're picking up the goddamn phone. Up first is the illustrious Ice-type icon Lorelei, whose icy infantry aims to freeze, fracture, and flat-out finish our fantasies of becoming Pokemon champion. But it's finally time for Artichoke the Machamp to shine. After tanking a Surf, he delivers some NFL-grade CTE with a Brick Break that sends Dugong back to the bleachers. Up next is Slowbro, so we swap into Lettuce as it fortunately just goes for an Amnesia. Lettuce sets up the Seeds of Sorrow and tanks a super effective Ice Beam. Fearing a crit, I pivot into Carrot to brush off an Ice Beam. See, I'm not a complete idiot. Sometimes I do stuff. Now expecting a Surf, I swap back into Lettuce to soak it up. And then forgetting that Slowbro used Amnesia, I go for a Razor Leaf that does less than I thought it would. Lettuce then takes an Ice Beam that definitely would have killed if it had critted. Leech Seed takes Slowbro into the red, so we know Lorelei is going to heal with her full restore, so we go for Toxic to double down on the chip damage. We switch into Artichoke here for pure aura, I suppose, but Slowbro uses Yawn and it's got bad breath, so it's time to leave. Now we switch into Carrot for a dumbass plan involving special attack Bite, but we get met with a strong, super effective Surf, so that went well. We bring back out Artichoke, who takes a decent Surf, but at least he's not at risk of passing out from Slowbro's bad breath. And then chip damage from Poison and Leech Seed sends the Slowbro away, leaving Artichoke in for the next Ice type. Boister comes in and lives a Brick Break on what appears to be 1 HP before setting up the Hail, which is close to where we're trying to send it. One more Brick Break accomplishes just that. Next up though is Jinx, whose psychic typing makes things difficult for Artichoke. So we swap into Jicama, who apparently doesn't fly the flag as Attract has no effect. Jinx throws a weak punch and Jicama retaliates with Surf for over half. Lorelei then pulls a fast one on me, retreating into her own Lapras as we go for another Surf that gets water absorbed. Her Lapras is surprisingly faster as it hits a Confuse Ray, confusing us, so Jicama naturally punches herself in the face instead of using Psychic. Lorelei then goes for Body Slam, which as we all know has a 99% chance to paralyze, which is exactly what it does. Jicama breaks through the paralysis, determined to instead hit herself in confusion. Lapras then hits Jicama with another Body Slam, but finally she avoids paralysis and shakes off confusion. She then hits a Psychic that does so little damage that it was clearly never worth going through this torture for. Artichoke, you're back in, pal! On the switch, we take a soft Body Slam and avoid the paralysis. Take notes, Jicama. One Brick Break later, and the pesky Lapras proceeds back to the bench. But it's back to Jinx, so we swap out into Carrot. He comes into a non-effective Ice Punch and proceeds to melt Jinx with a Flamethrower, winning us the first battle of the Elite Four. Now it's time for a brutal brawl with Bruno, the buff fighting-type brute and occasional Onyx enjoyer. Can our team beat his brigade of muscle-bound monsters? Critical hit, Razor Leaf. Leech Seed, surprise, surprise. Swap. Ah! Drill Peck! Drill Peck 2, Electric Boogaloo. Drill Peck 3, Return of the Drill. It's just an Onyx, we're staying in. See? Just an Onyx. Hey, Sarah, I was thinking about going to Los Barrancas for dinner tonight, and I was just wondering if you wanted to go. Oh, yep, I never call this number again. Okay, well, catch you on a flip. Yeah, we beat Bruno pretty easily. And with that, it's now time for the ghost-loving Granny Agatha, who is obviously actually a Poison-type trainer. Come on, I don't know who they think they're fooling with this. I mean, she gets replaced by Koga in Gen 2. Anyways, out first is Gengar and Peas, who are looking to keep their hot streak from the Bruno fight going. Drill Peck 4, Drill Free or Die Hard was a commercial flop, as Gengar lives and is able to set up a double team. But that's exactly why Peas led this battle. With their never-miss Aerial Ace, they're able to send this ghost back to the graveyard. Golbat is next, so we swap to Okra to tank the Poison Fang and fortunately avoid the poison. Less fortunately, Golbat hits the Confuse Ray on the next turn, but Okra fights through to hit a hard Rock Throw. Now Agatha moves on to flinch strategies with Bite, and it is a success. On the next turn, we avoid the flinch, but Okra succumbs to his confusion and hits himself in confusion. Okra, you're throwing against a Golbat, man. It's another flinch. Next turn, we avoid the flinch and hit the Rock. Nope. Okra hit himself again. Now, I really should have swapped out here, but I can't do my goat like that. When Okra goes down, it's going to be in his own way, and I trust him with that. It all comes down to whether or not Okra the Golem can break through the confusion. Which he does, hitting a strength to finally send Agatha's Golbat out of this battle. In comes Arbok, we swap to Artichoke, who tanks an Iron Tail before sending his foe to the Shadow Realm with an Earthquake. Haunter comes in next, we swap to Carrot, who quickly dispatches Haunter with a couple of bites, sending us to a battle with the second Gengar. Gengar outspeeds and hits an Hypnosis, and after a few turns of Nightmares and Sludge Bombs, it's time to switch. Lettuce comes in to tank a Sludge Bomb before, of course, being put to sleep with Hypnosis. After many turns of us alternating between sleeping and healing off of Synthesis and Leech Seed, we finally swap into Peas, whose Drill Pick 5, the 5-inning, finishes off Agatha and her Gengar, thank God! And now it's time for the final of the Elite Four, the dangerous Dragon Master Lance. We've cleared the first 3 without a death, but let's see if we can succeed in bringing our full team to the champion battle. Lance starts the match with his ferocious Gyarados, but we've got a plan. After eating a 40 damage Dragon Rage, Jiggama responds with a Shockwave for 4 times super effective damage that unfortunately doesn't get the KO. But after shrugging off another Dragon Rage, Jiggama uses a second and takes it out. This brings out Aerodactyl, so we swap to Okra, who takes an Ancient Power like a champ, and luckily there's no Omni Boost. Then we just take a soft wing attack before putting Aerodactyl in the Yellow with Rock Throw. We're getting really lucky with these attacks and aren't putting his Pokemon in healing range. Hope we can keep that up. Oh, fuck you, Lance. This time we get a lower damage roll, so he shouldn't heal again. And he doesn't, so after a weak wing attack, we can finish off Aerodactyl with another Rock Throw. 2 down. But now it's time for our Dance with the Dragons to truly begin as Lance brings in his first Dragonair. Okra shoots off a massive Earthquake that unfortunately leaves it in the red, but it just goes for a safeguard. Lance doesn't go for a full restore, so a second Earthquake sends the first Dragonair away without accomplishing anything. The second comes in and a third Earthquake hits for big damage, but this Dragonair isn't playing around and attacks with a powerful Outrage. Not wanting to switch anything into an Outrage, we just outspeed and take the kill with a Strength. 4 down, 1 to go. But the last one is the biggest threat, Lance's Dragonite. I decide to let Okra try for one more Rock Throw, but he has to take an Outrage first, and... bad move. Thanks for everything, Okra. This means Jiggama can come out free, take an Outrage, and launch a critical hit 4 times super effective Ice Beam to win the battle. The Elite Four have been defeated. And now it's time for the final battle with Tensai's punk ass. As usual, he leads with Pidgeot, and without the team's Rock Okra available, or alive, Jiggama's gonna have to step in. Pidgeot means business though, as it immediately hits a critical hit Aerial Ace. Jiggama takes this personally and dishes out her own critical hit Ice Beam to send the big bird back to the bleachers. In comes Rhydon, who quickly gets washed away with the surf. Way to go, Jiggama. But next up is Exeggutor, so it's time to reboot the franchise. Peas arrives to the battle, and then gets put to sleep. After taking a quick nap and an Egg Bomb, Peas wakes up and gets to work with a Drill Peck that unfortunately leaves him in the red. This lets Exeggutor fire off another Egg Bomb that leaves Peas low. Knowing that Tensai has no honor and will use a full restore, we stay in and go for Drill Beam 2 Judgment Day that again fails to terminate the Exeggutor. With another full restore on the way, I decide to take the free switch into Arcanine, who after taking out his opponent should draw out the Gyarados in the back. One Flamethrower later, and Exeggutor is finally out of here and will not be back. As predicted, this brings in the Gyarados, so we swap to Venusaur to run it back, taking a soft Hydro Pump in the process. After an ungodly amount of turns of us going back and forth between Razor Leafs, Thrashes, and Heals, Tensai decides to swap to his own starter, Charizard. Unluckily for him, we had clicked Toxic. You may have noticed by now that Carrot the Arcanine does not have Intimidate. He has Flash Fire, so expecting a Fire Blast, we bring him in, gaining him a free special attack bonus. And with that power up, we go to work. Tanking a Slash, Carrot fires off a Flamethrower that does just enough damage. Charizard hits us hard with a Stab Aerial Ace, but after the poison damage, he's now in range to get cooked by an Overheat. And with that, the Zard is down. Gyarados is back, but this time we swap to Artichoke, who takes a decent Hydro Pump on the way in. Artichoke then takes a huge critical hit Thrash, but lives on 4 HP, responding with his own critical hit Strength, which even with his adamant nature, isn't enough to take down the ferocious fish. Now it's back to where they left off as Lettuce comes in, taking a Thrash that leaves Gyarados confused. Honorless Tensai uses another full restore, so we take the chance to get back up to full HP as well with the Synthesis. After another series of Razor Leafs, Toxics, and Leech Seeds, Gyarados is ready to fall, so we swap to Carrot so he'll be there waiting for the Alakazam. We took a big gamble here, but fortunately Gyarados hits itself in confusion, so we're not punished. Honestly, looking back at it, I'm not sure he's in range to fall to chip damage without that. Nonetheless, it works out and Carrot is primed to hit Alakazam with extreme speed for about half. It fires back a Psychic, but fortunately we avoid the crit. One more extreme speed and Alakazam goes down, winning us the title of Indigo League Champion and winning us the run.
Congratulations!
But what if I told you this isn't how things really went? This was actually attempt 2, a false run just to see if the team could really do it. One more ride into the sunset. In reality, this is how things played out. And we got fucking dog walked. Against Lorelei, things are going well until Jinx outspeeds and hits Artichoke with a Lovely Kiss. Forgetting that it doesn't have a single Psychic type move, we switch out into Carrot to take it out with a Flamethrower. Problem with this though is now Artichoke is passed out asleep on the bench when Lapras comes in. This then leads to a 992 turn battle against it and involves Jiggama the Lapras, Lettuce the Venusaur, and Carrot, who by the way gets frozen. 6.5 months later, we finally take it out with a Flamethrower to get the win. And now we've got Bruno. Jiggama takes out the Onix and then we switch into Peas for the Hitmonchan, who promptly gets hit with a Sky Uppercut. No problem, the Oscar-winning Drill Peck one-shots. Except, I forgot Hitmonchan as Mach Punch. That was on me. That was on me. Lettuce whittles away at the rest of the team, but after a critical hit Cross Chop, has to check out to Artichoke, who gets absolutely assaulted by another Cross Chop. No problem, we're 4 levels higher and have an adamant nature. We outspeed and Stab Brick Break takes it out. Except it doesn't, so Artichoke falls to a Rock Tomb. Are you starting to see why I showed the second run first? I just chuck Okra out there counting on chip damage to finish the job, but get jump scared by the Citrus Berry. Fortunately, Poison Leech Seeds still do the trick, and that's the end of Bruno. and 2 of our Pokemon. Next up is the Poison Elite Four member, Agatha. Remember that great plan for the first Gengar with Peas earlier? Yeah, that's gone. Things are a little bit more messy, but Jickum and Carrot tag team it despite some double team shenanigans. Carrot has Bat for dinner after a couple flamethrowers, Ochre smashes Arbok with a strength and then an Earthquake to avoid a heal. Ochre and tag team then tag team the Carrot. What the fuck? Ochre and Carrot tag team the Haunter, and Lettuce plays with his food as usual by draining the second Gengar for all it's worth. Poison Lady down. But now we're walking into the 2 hardest battles in the game with only 4 Pokemon. Not undoable, but between my terrible gameplay and a series of bad luck, this is not great. Things are going well though, as Lettuce is successfully using his famous homegrown Leech Seed Toxic Strat to whittle down the Gyarados. Never mind, things are not going well. Well, with that, we've officially lost our starter. If only I taught you Sleep Powder, Lettuce. Maybe you wouldn't have got obliterated by a critical hit Hyper Beam. Anyway, surely it can't get any worse, right? I'm gonna have an aneurysm. So now Ice Beam doesn't kill, so we've got to swap to Ochre, who can kill with a Rock Throw luckily after tanking a Hyper Beam. We can then take out both Dragonairs, leaving just the dangerous Dragonite in the bag. Having only 3 Pokemon left, Ochre just hits his Rock Throw and leaves instead of falling to an Outrage. Carrot comes in, and after Dragonite luckily misses a Hyper Beam and hits itself in confusion to then go down to a trio of Extreme Speech. Well, we've made it this far. Ready to see it all fall apart? More so than it already has, that is. Ochre's here to throw hands with Pidgeot one last time, taking it out with a Rock Throw. And after barely living an Earthquake from Rhydon, is able to take it out with one of its own. This actually isn't looking too bad. No! He's everywhere! There's bits and pieces everywhere! Who did this? Who did this? We're going to find out who did that to Ochre. But I mean, it could have been anybody. And in the meantime, we've got a championship battle to win in his name. Oh, we lost. No Calcs, all vibes. So what did we learn? Nothing. I refuse to learn. And if you hate learning from mistakes as well, leave a comment, like the video, and hit subscribe, because our next Hardcore Nuzlocke is a Pokemon Heart Gold, but playing as a Team Rocket Grunt. I've already started working on it, and it's 10 times better than this video. And this video is badass. So what's badass times 10? That's right, mega badass. But in the meantime, work hard, study well, eat and sleep plenty. Baka out!